faculty director for Aggie ACHIEVE, and I'm joined by two of our staff members, Jamie Berthold, our program coordinator, and Dr. Mary Worley, our program coordination graduate assistant. And we're really excited that you're with us today. Do want to let you know that we are recording this so that people who did not attend can watch it later. So you will get a message in a moment, if you haven't already, that we will be recording this. Okay, so I know by this point in the pandemic, everyone is probably used to Zoom, but just a couple of quick housekeeping reminders. There are a lot of us on this call today, so please have your audio muted throughout the open house presentation. There will be some time later for questions and answers and discussion, so we definitely want you to join into that and take yourself off mute for that portion. But for now, while we have our speakers presenting, please keep your audio muted. And if you forget to do that, then one of our co-hosts will probably go ahead and mute you just as a way to keep it flowing. After today, probably later today or Monday, our presentation will be available on YouTube. So if you know anybody who was not able to attend today or missed this information, then it will be posted there. And also don't feel like you need to frantically take notes. You'll have access to the recording, and we'll also make the PowerPoint available so that you have all of the information you need. So before we get started, I'd love to just get a sense of who's in the room. So using the chat feature, please go ahead and say your name, where you're from, and what your role is. So are you an educator? Are you a prospective student or a family member? What's your connection and why are you here today? Let's take a minute just to do that.
I might be first. Mike Bradley, my son Patrick Bradley is a prospective student in 2 falls from now. I'm a class of 91 way back when, so proud to be here.
Good to see you, Mike.
Good to see you, Carly.
Thanks for being here. And I saw Elizabeth's on here too. Thank you. And in the chat, I see we've got people from Dallas, prospective students, prospective parents. Great, a lot of DFW representation today. Exciting. Corpus Christi, Cypress, Brownsville. Awesome. BCS, Bryan College Station. That's great. Houston. All right. Well, thank you all. You can keep on doing that as we keep moving forward. And Dr. Worley is going to be monitoring the chat. So if you have any specific questions while we're presenting, I can't really see the chat. So she'll answer your questions in the meantime, and then she'll let us know later if anything needs to be addressed by the presenters. Okay, so today we are talking about Aggie ACHIEVE. Aggie ACHIEVE is a 4-year comprehensive transition program at Texas A&M University. It is in its 3rd year, and right now we have 19 students in Aggie ACHIEVE. The picture you're seeing here is our very first cohort of students, which was in fall of 2019. So now we have sophomores, juniors, and freshmen joining us on campus, and you'll hear from some of those students later on today. So today we're going to give you a brief overview of Aggie ACHIEVE. We'll talk through eligibility and our admissions timeline. Today, October 1st, is a very important day because it's the day that our application is available. So many of you might be on the call for that reason. We're going to talk specifically about fall 2022 admissions. But if you are the prospective student or parent of someone looking to come in later years, we encourage you to still take note of this information, as we do tend to keep things very consistent each year. We'll also talk about our goals as a program. So we're only in our 3rd year. We're still learning, we're still growing, and we do have a lot of big goals that we want to achieve in the next 5 to 10 years. And we'll hear from our student organization, the peer mentor organization called Aggie ACHIEVE Mates. We'll hear from some of those student leaders. We'll also hear from some of our current Aggie ACHIEVE students. And then at the very end, we'll hear from some representatives of the Texas A&M Foundation, which provides a lot of our funding support to run the program. So we have a full agenda today, and I'm excited to dive in. So some pictures of our students. We have students involved in things all over campus. As I said, we have 19 students, and many of them take coursework related to academics. They take physical education courses that we'll talk about. They are fully entrenched in student life here at Texas A&M in every aspect. And our students, even during COVID, as you can see with the mask, have been active participants on campus and have been able to have the full college experience. More pictures, because I think pictures just help bring the program to life. This is actually from this year. And so you'll see that pretty much all of our students in these pictures outside of White Creek, outside of the football stadium, getting ready for the football game. Our students are usually the most spirited Aggies you'll ever meet, as you can see by all the Aggie gear, and love going to football games and cheering on the Aggies. So Aggie ACHIEVE has two equally important pillars of our mission. The first is to provide an inclusive and immersive college education. And I really want to spend time on each of those words. So we are part of a nationwide network of inclusive post-secondary education programs. And what it means to be inclusive is really important, not just physically, but philosophically as well. So physical inclusion could mean that our students are physically present in classes. They physically attend football games. They have a presence on campus. But we go much deeper than that and really emphasize philosophical inclusion, which means that our students are considered, first and foremost, they are Texas A&M students. They have all of the same access and opportunities as a traditional undergraduate student at Texas A&M, which means they take coursework, they pay the same student fees to have access to the rec center, the library, IT support, all aspects of student life. If our students aren't already a part of it, then our goal is to get them to be a part of it. And we have found within the Texas A&M community that by and large, Texas A&M has been so supportive of that piece of our mission. And as for those of you on the call who are Aggies, who are former students, you probably, this is probably no surprise to you, but much of the collaboration that we've had in the past several years and what's enabled us to get to where we are in a relatively short period of time is that inclusive reception from both the students, staff, and faculty of Texas A&M. And then the second piece of this is immersive college education. So a lot of times, similar programs are framed as a college experience program. And I really try not to use that term when describing Aggie ACHIEVE because we have so much more than just the opportunity to get an experience. To me, an experience is sort of like a passive thing where students are sort of on the sidelines of college watching as it's happening. That is not what Aggie ACHIEVE is. So in all aspects, we encourage our students not just to be a part of Texas A&M, but to really shape the culture and the community here at Texas A&M. So that means our students are joining student organizations, they're participating in service learning and volunteering opportunities. They are making an impact on the campus community just as much, if not more, as the community is making an impact on them. And the second piece of that is that we are very outcomes driven. So our goal is that all of our students will graduate our program in 4 years with a job of their choice in the community. So our goal is to equip all of our students for employment in the community. And we focus on an individualized approach for all of our students to really tailor their whole program of study and their degree plan to whatever specific vocation that they're interested in. So how do we do this? So the program is 4 years total, and the first 2 years are designed to introduce students to college life. So we focus on orientation to college. We talk a lot about time management, study skills, social skills. And beginning that second semester of their freshman year, they're already starting in employment internships, and they rotate to a different internship site each semester thereafter that. And then gradually, as they go into their junior and senior year, they spend more and more time in the internships, and they're still taking classes. They're still part of the academic experience of enrolling in Texas A&M coursework, but we find that as they have more employment experience, they're also understanding, what is it that I really want to do? A lot of times our students, they all come in with the goal of integrated employment in the community, but what they actually want to do typically changes. And so we work really closely with each of our students to understand what their career of their choice is. And we have opportunities for on-campus internships as well as off-campus internships. The first semester, first year, all of our students have been on campus, but excuse me, now a lot of them are moving into off-campus positions. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Jamie, who's going to talk through our person-centered planning process.
Hi, good morning. I'm Jamie Berthold. I'm the program coordinator for Aggie ACHIEVE. So one thing I really love about our program, and is something that really drew me to working for the program, is person-centered planning. And so from the beginning of the time that the student is accepted, we want their whole experience to be individualized to what they enjoy, what they're interested in, what they want to learn. And so we do this through a comprehensive process called person-centered planning. And this process allows each student and their family to meet with a staff member to design the goals that they want to work on. And so all the goals in our program are completely individualized. Each student takes ownership and responsibility for what they would like to learn. And so we provide a lot of options for their coursework, internship opportunities, and extracurricular activities that align with what they're interested in and what their long-term goals are. And so in their, when they are in A&M classes, the way that they're graded is all of our courses are taken for 0 credit, except in employment internships and their PAP courses. These courses can't be transferred to another university, and they can only take 1 PAP course and 1 A&M course per semester. And when they finish our program, they will receive a certificate in interdisciplinary studies from Texas A&M University. So like I said, Aggie Achieve students enroll in 1 academic course each semester. And so they are given a modified syllabus and independent learning agreement with their instructors, where they really get to talk and take ownership on and advocate for their needs and their individual accommodations. And so their courses are modified syllabus, and they do work really closely with the Aggie Achieve program and the course instructor to identify which accommodations they need to be successful in that class. They also receive support from peer mentors and participate in activities with their peers to demonstrate content mastery. And we work really closely with the Office of Disability Resources. So I saw someone said in the chat, what is PAP? It's the Physical Education Activity Program courses. And so PAP courses is where our students get to do things like flag football, bowling. They get to pick from all of the same classes that any Texas A&M student gets to pick from. And so that is their athletic physical education credit. Some examples of academic classes that we have available are educational psychology, understanding special populations, theater history, family involvement and empowerment, animals and society, all of the things you see here on the slide, but we are constantly adding to them each semester to grow and align it with what our student chose that they wanted to learn in the person-centered planning process. And so again, everything is very individualized and tailored to the student. And so when we hear what they're interested in, we try to build further relationships with stakeholders in both the campus and community and really get them plugged into something that they are interested in learning more about. The two classes that every Aggie Achieve student must take is Understanding Special Populations and Educational Psychology. So all of our students have to take those two courses, but other than that, they are aligned to the individual student. Our freshman students also take the Hullabaloo U first year experience course. And so this is a class that all first year students at Texas A&M participate in. And so our Aggie Achieve students get to be a part of that, and they learn about healthy relationships, well-being, study skills, time management, and campus resources in this class. They also are involved in Achieve seminars and directed studies for the Aggie Achieve program. And so in these seminars and directed studies, they learn a wide range of topics, including independent living, career awareness, discovery, job exploration. They also, in their directed studies, get to choose a topic that aligns with what they want to learn more about. And so that's a time where they work one-on-one with a program staff member to really work on those skills that they took ownership in and advocated that they wanted to learn more about. And so the physical education activity program that I was talking about earlier, it's the physical education classes such as basketball, dance and tone, flex and running. Really, Texas A&M has so many options for their PAP courses. And so our students have full access to picking what they're interested in. So how it works is they give their top 3 choices each semester, and then PAP plugs them in based on their top 3 choices. And this is the same process that every other Texas A&M student goes through. And we also, besides coursework and academics, we really prepare our students for meaningful employment and life after the program. And so internships are available both on campus and in the community. And these employment opportunities are really aligned with what the student wants to do long-term. They also complete 1 semester of an on-campus experience. So during their first year and their first 2 years, we want them to stay on campus to get those important job skills lined up. But the internships are so aligned to what their students interested in. And we have multiple partnerships around campus. So we have some partnerships with the libraries, dining halls, restaurants, Texas A&M Athletics, the Texas A&M Hotel. If you follow us on social media, you've seen several of our different internship sites that we have available, and we're constantly growing these as well. So each semester, we will grow our internship sites and really find new partnerships that align with what the students are interested in. During the last 2 years of the program, the students have the opportunity to venture off campus and work in a setting that's more aligned with what they want to do long-term and in their chosen field specialization. And so that means that, like, if they want to move somewhere else after college is over, then their last 2 years, we really are helping prepare them for that transition. In the final year of the program, the students work closely with the job developer to identify relative inclusive employment opportunities that are locally in their hometown or wherever they want to live after graduation. So our job developer will help them establish these partnerships and communications wherever they want to live long term. So here's just some really awesome pictures of some of our students at their internship sites. Since these pictures do not obviously represent all of our students, but they are a great representation of the wonderful partnerships we have made at Texas A&M. And we also have residential partnerships with White Creek Apartments. So all of our students live in White Creek Apartments. It's like a suite style dorm. So they each have their own bedroom, and they share a kitchen with 3 other students and a bathroom with 1 other student. And all of our first year students have to live with a residential mentor. And so they have at least one of a peer mentor in their unit with them.
I just want to add to that. The residential mentor is an undergraduate student who is hired by Aggie Achieve. We support them, pay for their housing, and pay them hourly to support our students in independent living. However, this person is not a personal care attendant. So In order for students to live in the setting, they do need to be able to take care of their own daily hygiene and personal needs.
So this is just an example of what the apartments look like. So they have a shared common living space with the living room, a kitchen that they share, and they share a bathroom with one other student.
So all of our students and all students in higher education fall under the Ferpa policy. And Ferpa stands for Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. And this is part of what distinguishes in college education from K-12. So very important here is that students are deemed to own their own educational records. And this means that we funnel all of our communication through the student. And so unlike K-12, where you might have daily interactions with the teacher or with the case manager about how your son or daughter is doing, that doesn't happen in college. And we can't, if you call us and say, hey, did Jamie go to class today? I can't tell you if Jamie went to class. I can't tell you if she slept in or not. And similarly, like, what did Jamie get on her quiz in INST 210 this week? I can't tell you that either. What I might do though is tell Jamie to call her parents and let them know that she's been sleeping through class, or let them know that she didn't do so hot on a quiz. So we definitely support our students in all of those areas, but this relates to how much we can share with families. And there is a form that students can sign, which allows us, we often have them sign it as part of orientation. It's in our handbook, and they can sign it to say that they allow us to talk to their parents about any information, but we never have a conversation with the parent without the student present. And so even if there's behavioral issues, we really direct that to the student, and we will have the student call their parents and explain what's been going on. And we might add to that if there's some bits of information they left out, but all of that really in encouraging self-advocacy and self-determination for our students, and also in following the rules and the guidelines here. And this is going to be the case across campus. So it's unlike high school, where you're not going to be calling their individual professors and asking how they did, or calling their Achieve mates, their peer mentors, and asking how they've been eating during lunchtime. We just can't provide that information. And if your son or daughter is in our program, then we encourage you to only communicate with the Aggie ACHIEVE staff rather than trying to reach out to individual entities on campus. We are the liaison for you to connect your student to other parts of campus. Now, the flip side of that, though, is you can tell us as much information as you want. And FERPA is really talking about the one side of communication, where the university is initiating communication with the family, but the family can share as much information, and we definitely welcome that. We want to know the best ways to support your son or daughter. We want to know what's been successful for them in the past in high school, because that really does help guide us. Now, things might look differently in college, but we are open to working with you and coming up with a plan of how to best support each student.
So our students are paired with Aggie ACHIEVE mates that are peer mentors for our program. And so Aggie ACHIEVE students receive the majority of their individualized support from their peer mentors. And those are our Texas A&M students who volunteer as Aggie ACHIEVE mates. ACHIEVE mates are undergraduate and graduate students from across disciplines. They establish the one-on-one relationships with our students, and they really help facilitate natural inclusion. And so the goal of the ACHIEVE mates is to be a natural friendship with our students. We want our students to have, peer mentors and friendships when they arrive on campus. And so each student has what we call a circle of support. And within that circle of support, they have an academic mentor who assists them on coursework, study hall, study habits. They have a lunch and dinner partner who helps them with healthy eating and social skills during meals, wellness partners who engage in a workout or a game and help them develop safe exercise habits, daily planning partners, and the planning partners really help our students get organized, help them practice self-advocacy, money management, and making sure that they're meeting all the expectations of the program. We also have general members at large who are plugged into the organization to support students whenever they're needed. So each student gets an individualized circle of support, and they have these people and within their circle that they can turn to for encouragement, for friendship and community.
And as you can see from this picture, we have so many Aggie Achieve mates. We have more than 100 to support our students. And that's another beautiful thing about the Aggie community is how open and excited they are to support our students. These are all volunteers. They don't get credit hours. They don't get paid. They don't get, we really don't even encourage them to use it as a resume line. It is all about the reciprocal friendships. And we also, it's a very different model than like Best Buddies, where you might have like a one-to-one, as you can see through the colors. This is from our first year. So all 5 of our students, there were 5 different colors on here. And this is where they had their like circle reveal day. So like on the left here, the green, that's all of the people wearing green are to support that one student. So as our program has grown, we've, have more students now. We only had 5 that year. So the circles aren't quite as large as they were, but every year we have more A&M students who are interested in joining as well. And you'll hear more from the Aggie Achieve mates from the student leaders later on today. Here are some pictures of them together.
Carly, I can only see the Achievemate slide. I can't see the next slide.
Can you see the student organizations?
No.
Okay, that's weird. One second, I don't know why.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, great. I might need to jump off and come back in. So you can keep rolling, Jamie. Sorry.
Okay. No, you're good. So these are some pictures of our students with their Aggie Achieve mates, and they are, really great peer mentors, really great friendships. They participate in a variety of activities with our students to give our students the support and fun that they need to be a fully immersed college student. Oh, now my computer is like, sorry. Okay. And our students also have the opportunity to participate in a variety of student organizations. And so they have access to over 1,000 different student organizations on campus. Some of the ones that our students are part of is listed here below. Our students really get the opportunity to be fully plugged in to campus life. And it's really important that when students come to our program, they're willing to join different organizations and willing to join different ways to get plugged in, because being in college, one of the most important things is being social and being plugged in to have a meaningful college experience. So that is something we look for in applicants is, are they willing to step out of their comfort zone and be put into immersed into these student organizations and peer relationships. And this is just an example of what a day in the life of an Achieve student looks like. And so they participate in their A&M classes, their PAP classes. They join our Achieve mates for different, sessions based off their circle support. They also are part of student organizations. And so although they're only taking one A&M course and one PAP course, they have a very full day. And so the rest of their time is used for program support and getting well-rounded into the campus life. It's a very busy schedule. And I also just want to make it clear and kind of make a note that our students do have a lot of unstructured time. And so it's important that when a student does come to the program, that they know what to do with their free time and that they're able to adapt to that, where we can teach them the skills necessary to use their free time wisely and use their free time to build relationships with their peers. But the program does not offer 24/7 supervision. The program is not able to provide constant structure throughout the entire day. And so our program staff, we are expanding and we're really excited about it. Our faculty director is Dr. Carly Gilson. And so she is in charge of the programmatic development, strategic planning, fundraising, program evaluation. She is a full-time professor. And so that is her full-time job. She is the faculty director of Aggie Achieve. Our program director, we are actually hiring for a program director right now. But the program director responsibilities will be to oversee all the key elements of the program, student recruitment, screening, collaborating with faculty, fostering campus relationships, and expanding internship offerings to address any issues that arise in the program. And then I'm the program coordinator. And so my job is I'm responsible for all of the day-to-day activities of the program, person-centered planning, Aggie Achievements. Our job developer, actually her first day is today, and her name is Carly Gilson, and she is responsible for connecting students to on-campus internships and off-campus internships, as well as future employment opportunities. We also have a postdoc research associate, and so he oversees all of the research within Aggie Achieve. We have a variety of different graduate assistants who are in charge of employment, academics, and independent living. And we also have our residential mentors who live with our first-year students in White Creek Apartments to assist with independent living skills. And like Carly said earlier, they do not participate in assisting with daily hygiene tasks or anything like that. They also do not provide 24/7 supervision. We also have job coaches who support our students on the job with their internships and employment opportunities. As the program develops, we are constantly assessing our needs, and staffing will be made available based on availability and what the students need.
All right, folks, I think I'm back. Sorry about that. So Aggie Achieve is a comprehensive transition program, which is a designation that is granted to us by the U.S. Department of Education. And what that means is that our students are eligible for a range of federal financial aid. So just like any other college student, they would apply using the FAFSA and can apply for need-based financial aid, such as Pell Grants, work study, the Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant. And the other thing that allows us is it is a standardized way of comparing similar programs across the country. So as it says on the slide, we're the first in Texas. We used to be the only, but now I'm pleased that there's several other programs across Texas that have recently received this designation as well. And that means that it puts us as part of a network of about 50 other programs across the country that share this designation. So today is our first, I wanted to address something in the chat before I move on with this. So someone asked, are we connected with TWC, which is Texas Workforce Commission? And right now we are not, but that is one of our goals for the next 3 to 5 years for the program. We've started conversations with them and they're really interested in learning more about Aggie Achieve, but we don't have an established connection where all of our students immediately receive funding. However, if you are connected to your local TWC case manager, we really encourage you to, if your son or daughter is interested in Aggie Achieve, talk about Aggie Achieve specifically as a venue to employment. Because we have seen on a case-by-case basis where some case managers do recommend funding support for Aggie Achieve. So the more advocacy we can do at the local levels, the hopefully the quicker it'll be to get that designation at the state level. Okay, so today is, oh, sorry, can you go back? Today is our first day of the next admission season. So our application is now available on our website, which we'll put at the end of today's slides. And it will be open until December 1st. So many of you are probably here to learn about admission. So I want to talk through these criteria very carefully so that you can assess whether or not this is the right program for you at this time. So Aggie Achieve currently does not have an age requirement. All of our students are between the ages of 18 to 27, but we don't have specific maximum requirements for ages. We do have a minimum requirement. They have to be 18 at the time of starting Aggie Achieve, and they have to have exited high school. So we do not have dual enrollment as an option with a school district. So in order to start at Aggie Achieve, they have to have exited from special education services and from their school district. They also have to have received special education services under the IDEA categories of intellectual disability, autism, or multiple disabilities. Another important thing is that all of our students have aspirations and goals to attend college and to participate in community employment. And that's something that we ask for in a lot of different ways. So it's not enough just to put it on the application. We're also looking for that in the interviews, and it really needs to come from the applicants themselves. So it's great if that's what the parent says that they want, but we need to hear it from the student. And this picture here is one of our sophomores now. Her name is Carly, and this is what all of the accepted Aggie Achieve students receive. It's actually what all accepted Texas A&M students receive in the mail. And so even though we take care of our own admissions process internally, we work really closely with the admissions office at Texas A&M to make sure that the notification of acceptance mirrors the same process as it does for any other Texas A&M student. So we try to keep it a secret when applicants find out that they're accepted. We might tell the parents, but we try to encourage them to keep it a secret so that the first time that they learn about their acceptance is when they receive this bright maroon package in the mail where that opens it up and they see that they're accepted into Texas A&M. So it's really exciting. If you follow us on social media, you may have seen those acceptance videos. They're really heartwarming to watch. Okay, so more eligibility. So they must have completed high school and have that disability diagnosis. They also must have some sort of reliable form of communication, which is not limited to verbal speech. So it could be using assistive technology or sign language, but they do need to have a way to communicate reliably with students, staff, faculty, anyone on campus that they might interact with. They also must be able to live independently and take care of their own daily functioning and basic support needs. So as we said earlier, that residential mentor is not there to do personal care type work. So all students must be independent in those areas. That includes toileting, hygiene, feeding, giving themselves medication. And this is something that if you have a younger student, that we encourage you to start working on now, is trying to encourage that independence in at home so that when they apply that they're really comfortable and competent in those areas. They also must demonstrate at least a third grade reading comprehension level and a fluency level. And this is something that we ask for in the application, but we also assess it as part of our admissions process. So if students are invited for a final interview, we do have them take a reading test. And that's because even if there's documentation to support that, maybe they were at one time reading on a third grade level, some of those evaluations are outdated and might not be as relevant now. So we do just a small proxy. We don't do a full reading assessment, but we do have a couple of ways to assess that on an informal level. And the reason for that is that they are going to be accessing college level content. And even though they might have accommodations like read aloud or text to speech, they have the opportunity to participate in reading in different ways. But it is important, even in text messages, social communication, emails, all of that is part of the reading requirements to be a college student. The next criterion is that they're able to function independently for a sustained period of time. So most college classes that they'll be taking are about 60 to 90 minutes. And that might be longer than they're used to sitting still from high school. So that is something that we're looking for too, and something that we also assess for during that initial interview day. They do need to be able to demonstrate basic mathematics. A lot of the courses they're taking using a calculator is fine, and that's an approved accommodation. But to have conceptual understanding of numbers, working with money, understanding time, those types of basic mathematics skills are going to be really useful. And then, as I've talked about, that having the desire and motivation to attend Aggie Achieve, that needs to come from the student. We really are looking for self-determination that they see it's going to be a lot of work for them. It's going to be a lot of fun, but also a lot of work. And so they need to be personally invested and motivated. Similarly, they need to have the desire to attain a job. And they're going to be working hard. They're going to be trying out different things. They might be getting their hands dirty for the first time. Some of our jobs are, involve like working at the gardens and doing some outdoor labor. They need to have that internal motivation to keep going, and that they see that every internship, every directed studies, every experience they have is a stepping stone on their way toward getting a job in the community. We're also looking for active participation. So we really want students to be leading the application process. Of course, parents and teachers can assist in that, but once they are invited for an interview, we're really only looking to the students or to the applicants rather. So we try to minimize parent participation, again, just to mirror what actually being an Aggie Achieve will look like. And that means that we're going to be asking things directly of the students themselves. So they need to be intrinsically motivated to keep going. If they're invited to an interview day, the parents will be invited as well, but the majority of time and what we want to see is coming from the applicants. Next, we're looking for emotional and independent stability to participate in all aspects of Aggie Achieve and a college environment. There are a lot of unpredictable changes that happen in a college setting. We don't have like a bell schedule like high school. And so sometimes things change. Sometimes, a class might get canceled, or the location might move, or maybe, a staff member is tied up and they have to cancel a meeting. Those things happen, and we want our students to be prepared for that. Sometimes they might have a fire drill at 3 o'clock in the morning, or someone burned the popcorn and they need to evacuate the dorms. Those things happen, and we don't always have warning. And we want our students to be able to navigate those situations well with stability. So this is another way that if you have prospective students, that you can start working on that, is helping them get used to change, get used to unpredictability, and knowing that things might not always go according to the schedule that you have set in place. I mean, we saw this in a really big way during our first year, March of 2020, when the pandemic hit and all of our classes and supports were abruptly changed to an online format. And our students did awesome. It was hard. It was hard for everybody they went home for spring break, and for many of them, they didn't come back until the following fall. And that was a huge change. And I think, as the whole world was going through that change, our students were really receptive and understanding. They picked up how to use Zoom really quickly and how to participate in online classes. They were still doing all of their social time with AchieveMates. They were doing their workout classes online. They did everything in a virtual context. And I think it was because of this criteria that the students that we had for that year were really able to adapt to change. And it doesn't mean that it happened overnight, but we worked with them. We had social stories. We had a lot of continuous support to make sure that they were successful in that area. We're also looking for proof of health insurance. They will get the student health services. They have access to that just like any other A&M student, but we do want to see that they have some form of private insurance as well, or Medicare or Medicaid. And this is a big one, this next one. They must serve as their own legal guardian, and that is full guardianship. And let me explain the reason for that. So as part of being a college student, there are a lot of decisions that they need to make on a daily basis. It might be as simple as what type of course they want to take, where they want to go eat dinner, do they want to get a flu shot? And we encourage our students and their families to follow a supported decision-making, which is not a legally binding document, but it is a way that parents can still provide a lot of support, especially as it relates to financial and medical guardianship. And with that, our students sometimes participate in research studies. They participate in, they're getting in the car with an AchieveMate, and all of that those are big and small decisions that add up to inclusive college life. And so it is really important that students are their own decision makers. I hear some background noise, so please double check to make sure you're on mute. I can't see individually where everyone is, but please mute yourselves. Thank you. So lastly, they must be able to navigate campus safely. That means crossing streets. Our campus, if you haven't been here, is like its own town. It's really big, and it does go over some major roads and train tracks. And so that's another thing that parents, you can start working on now, is making sure that your son or daughter is able to navigate. They understand crosswalks and traffic lights. They understand where to cross safely, what it means when you get to a stop sign, what it means when you get to a red light. Even if they're not driving, they still need to be able to walk across a large campus safely. There are about 66,000 students here on this campus. And some days, especially during that passing time, it can feel like that. So you may also want to simulate crowded environments where they have the chance to experience what it's like to be in a densely packed setting and have to navigate a campus.
So admissions for fall 2022, our applications were posted today on our website on October 1st, and they will be open until December 1st. And they will be submitted electronically. There is a $30 application fee, and each student must have 2 references. The application process is the admissions committee will review the applications and evaluate them anonymously using a rubric. The selected applicants will be invited to interview in the spring. And so like Dr. Gilson was talking about, they'll come to campus, and this is really where we evaluate what the student is capable of and if they would be a good fit for our program. Both the applicant and the family must participate in the interview process. We are anticipating to accept 7 to 10 students for next fall. The tentative timeline for admissions is applications open today. They will close on December 1st. At the beginning of February, you will receive an invitation to interview if you were selected. In early February, we'll be conducting Zoom interviews. And then mid-February, you're going to be notified if you're invited to come to the final interview. And we will do on-campus interview in early March. And by mid-March, we will notify the admissions office of accepted applicants. And then the admissions office will mail the final acceptance letters. some future goals of Aggie Achieve is building more partnerships and forming more endowed scholarships to help lessen the financial burden of Aggie Achieve. We also want to grow in both staff and students and making our program successful for each student in our program. And we want to have students fully immersed and included in the A&M campus. And so our goals are accessing more A&M courses that align to individual student interests and desires and goals. We also want to make more connections with various student organizations here on campus so our students can get plugged in and involved. And we also want to form more on-campus and off-campus employment opportunities. And so the whole goal of Aggie Achieve is to expand post-secondary opportunities for students and families in Texas. Another really great resource to access if you're interested in different post-secondary opportunities is thinkcollege.net. And so on thinkcollege.net, there is a list of a variety of different resources across the nation. And so there are 288 college programs for students with an intellectual disability. And so Think College has all of the different opportunities that students with intellectual disability can participate in. So if you have any questions, feel free to access our website or our email and or put them in the chat and to let us know what your questions are. And you can also follow us on social media to see what we're up to on a day-to-day. And we have an Achievemate who's coming to talk, but I'm going to stop screen sharing because we have two Achieve students who I thought could share their experience really quick. So Courtney and Julia, if you just want to take a few minutes to share your experience, and then you can hop off and get to class.
Hi, I'm Courtney Osborne. I am a junior this year. This experience of Aggie Achieve too. Just give me an opportunity to carry out my family tradition because I'm a fourth generation Aggie. So, and each time I go back home, seeing the great smile that I get to put on my grandfather's face. It's like super encouraging to me, especially because time does get hard. So like a normal college student. So he's just pretty much my driving force of getting through A&M. I am a officer for Aggie Teammates. This is my second year to do it. So in the spring, they will ask you, hey, if you want to be an officer this coming year, I will literally love to do it because you get to learn more information of in and out of like Aggie Achieve and Aggie Achievements, and it's really fun. And I'm part of I like to call it swag team.
Thank you, Courtney, for sharing your experience. Julia, would you like to share a few things?
Yes. I'm Julia Gott. I'm from South Party Island, and I'm a sophomore at Texas A&M, and I love Aggie Achievements, and I learn all my I learn about myself, and when I go home I feel so different. And college changed their life, and even like best buddies, they really awesome to join that too. And it's even classes, they're so much fun to be in. And And yeah, this program is awesome too. um, yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Julia. Y'all did so awesome sharing your experience. If anyone has a few questions for them, feel free to ask them a couple of questions. We have just a few minutes, so if there are any questions for Courtney or Julia, feel free to ask them either in the chat or unmute yourself for a minute. Oh, it looks like y'all have a couple of questions. So the first one is, what is your favorite class in Aggie Achieve?
That was a good one. I think mine was freshman year, spring semester, because I had Dr. J teaches educational psychology, and I actually know his mom, and his mom was talking about the upcoming about Aggie ACHIEVE, which we didn't know the name of it yet, and her his mom literally was a day program for called Cornerstone Ranch out in McKinney, Texas. So and I really didn't want to go there to that program. So, but luckily I did, and it brought me to Aggie Achieve. So I just say, just if your kids don't want to do something and you know it's good, just push them.
Thank you, Courtney. Julia, what's your favorite Aggie Achieve class?
My favorite Aggie Achieve class is um is uh uh let's see. My uh uh I well, mine was I got let's see. It,
It could be a class you took on campus too. So either PAP or one of your A&M classes.
well, my Texas A&M class, I love country western class. It's really fun, and you learn all these steps, and they teach you about how to do kicking nine joe and all these fun dances that you learn about different students, and you meet a whole bunch of new friends in that class, and it's really fun.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, last question. Oh, there's two more questions for y'all. The first one is, do you ever get homesick?
Um, first semester I was a little homesick, but the Aggie achievements uh helped me through that.
And for me, yes, pretty much every day I call my mom. My mom is pretty much my my superhero. So it's like I just call her just to ask for advice or just want to hear her voice or something.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for sharing your experience. And sorry, I just want to say something really quick. So I'm getting some private messages and I can't respond to them very quickly. So if you could put them in the public chat on Zoom, then either Dr. Gilson or Dr. Worley can respond much quicker than me. So just wanted to make that little note. But Julia and Courtney, thank you so much for being on here today and sharing your experience with Aggie Achieve. And I'll let y'all go ahead and get to class, but thank y'all so much for sharing your experience.
Hey, Jamie, don't forget to talk about Fun Friday.
Oh yeah, Fun Friday, Jamie.
Yeah, they're really excited because what are we doing today, you guys?
We're doing a taco bar.
A taco bar. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, so every Friday we've started to have potlucks where each student can prepare a meal and bring a meal to our offices. And so today's theme was taco bar. So everyone prepared a taco recipe and we are going to enjoy it today for lunch. So thank you guys for reminding me of that.
Jamie.
All right, bye you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
So I want to, oh, go ahead, Carly, go ahead.
Yeah, so I wanted to address something that was in the chat. So someone asked about who lives in White Creek, and White Creek is a residential hall on campus. So it is freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, any other Texas A&M student can live there. It is on West Campus, if you're familiar with campus, other side of the train tracks from Welborn, and it's brand new in the last 5 years, and is a beautiful apartment setting. Because it is an apartment, it does attract, it does have freshmen, but I think actually it has a good mix of freshmen and sophomores, juniors, seniors, because it has that like generalizable setting of living in an apartment. The other thing that we're working on, and actually will be in place by next fall, is a living learning community. And what that means is that on the residence life application, so the housing application for any student, it will have a checkbox on there for the Aggie ACHIEVE living learning community, which means that any Texas A&M student can opt to live in the apartments with our students. And if they opt to live in there, that means that we would be placing them, they're not residential mentors, but they would just be, you know, a roommate or someone that they can hang out with. And even if they're not part of the living learning community, they're still across the hall from other traditional students as well.
Awesome. So I want to also introduce our Aggie Achievement President, Maddie Farrell. She is on this call with us, and she's going to talk to you guys a little bit about what Aggie Achievements is. So I'm going to share my screen really quick so y'all can see, and I'll turn it over to Maddie.
All right. Hi, y'all. My name is Maddie Farrell. I'm the president of Aggie Achievements this year. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide. This is just a bunch of pictures from over the years. We started around the same time as the Achieve program in order to support them. So last year was a lot of Zoom, but we still made it work and had a good time, and we were able to support the students in the Achieve program. Then we can go to the next slide. Okay, so what is Aggie ACHIEVE exactly? So we're a student organization dedicated to serving the Texas A&M community by advocating for inclusion and acceptance through establishing one-on-one relationships with Aggie ACHIEVE students. So while we are mentors for the Aggie ACHIEVE students, we also seek to build natural friendships with them and be there to support them through their college experience. We can go to the next slide. So who are Aggie ACHIEVE? So all the Aggie ACHIEVE students are in Aggie ACHIEVE with us, and then any current undergraduates are graduate students at Texas A&M who want to apply and be a part of AchieveMates. We're actually wrapping up our recruitment process right now. We're about to send out acceptance emails to our new AchieveMates, so that's super exciting. We can get to the next slide. Okay, so what we do exactly and how we support each Achieve student is we match each AchieveMate to a student in the Achieve program as a certain role. So for example, I'm a planning partner in Christian's circle, so I meet with him every Tuesday to help him plan out his week, help him stay organized, help him with anything he needs, like planning wise. And then we also have wellness partners that meet up with their Achieve student to do a workout or something fun to stay active and make sure they're staying healthy. Lunch and dinner buddies, which meet with their Achieve student to get lunch or dinner and practice on social skills and healthy eating. Members at large don't meet with their student once a week, but they're there for extra support and just to hang out. And then we also have academic mentors, which meet with their student once a week to help them study, encourage good study habits, and help them plan with schoolwork and all that. All right, we can get to the next slide. So the goals of Aggie AchieveMates are to foster and advocate for a community of inclusion and acceptance on campus in all aspects of student life, enact change in the lives of Texas A&M students through one-to-one mutually benefiting relationships. So like I said, we do the circles and we match students based on personality to AchieveMates. We want to match people who are going to get along really well and just foster friendships that are going to last a lifetime. And then we also help advance and support the goals and vision of the Achieve program through supplemental support and advocacy. So we're there for the Achieve program and the Achieve students in any way we can be. We want to help these students through their college experience and be there for them as a mentor and just as a friend. And then if you have any other questions about Aggie AchieveMates, that's our email. You can email me, ask me any questions. We also have a website with a blog where our awesome website chair, Alexis, updates it. We do things like Good Thing Friday with our members and the Achieve students, just updates on events that we're doing, fun stuff like that. And we also have an Instagram and a Facebook if y'all want to check that out.
Thank you, Maddie, so much for sharing about Aggie AchieveMates. So is there any questions for Maddie or any questions about AchieveMates?
There was a question in the chat about how many Aggie AchieveMates live in White Creek. So just to clarify, Aggie AchieveMates can live anywhere. There's not a residential requirement as being part of Aggie AchieveMates. There might be some that live in White Creek, but I don't have that specific information. Maddie, I wanted to ask how many Aggie AchieveMates are there right now and how many are you all planning to bring in this fall?
Right now we're at about 110 and we're about to add in around 70 new AchieveMates. So very exciting. We do a fall and spring recruitment. So we'll also be bringing in new people for the spring. So that'll be fun.
And can you talk a little bit about the process? They have to apply to be part of AchieveMates and they interview. It's not just like anybody can get in, right?
Yeah, so our application process is they answer a bunch of questions. It's really based on like matching to see if they would be a good fit. They have to answer questions like if they've been convicted of a crime other than speeding, like safety questions like that, if they have any experience with people with disabilities. And then each application is being reviewed by 2 officers, and then me and my secondhand, the president's committee, Natalie, we're going through the rest of the applications today based on the officer reviews and making sure that all these are good applicants that we want in AchieveMates and are going to be able to help and support our students grow, look for any red flags or anything like that, because of course we don't want anyone like that to be in Aggie AchieveMates, but overall we don't really have that happen. We have really great applicants, so very exciting. So yeah.
So Maddie, someone asked me in a private chat how y'all do the pairing for the circles. So if you want to explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, so in the application, we have like, what are you involved in? What are your hobbies, interests, all that sort of stuff. And we have that information about the Achieve students as well. So we have a student, Andy, who's really into art. And I actually read a few applications where people were like really into art and painting and drawing. And I was like, oh my gosh, this person would be so good with Andy. So things like that, just kind of based on personality and interest. So we can like best support them and help them find people that they're gonna get along well with. So we do it based on activities, but also personality and stuff like that.
Thank you, Maddie. Is there any other questions for Maddie on what AchieveMates is or how it works?
Thank you for the comment in the chat. That's very sweet.
Maddie, what has been your favorite thing about being an AchieveMate?
Oh, I've just gotten to know a lot of the Achieve students. Like I said, I'm in Christian's circle. I'm his planning partner, but I was also an officer last year before I was president. So I've just gotten to know a lot of the Achieve students and just build great friendships with them. I got my nails done with some of the other Aggie Achieve girls the other day. So that was really fun. I've just made some great friendships and I would say that's my favorite part of it. They just make my days better.
Thank you so much for sharing, Maddie, and for being with us today.
Yeah, of course. Thank y'all for having me.
Absolutely. So if no one else has any other questions for Maddie, then we can let her go. But if y'all have any questions, now would be the the perfect time. Okay, well, thank you so much, Maddie.
Thank you. Bye, y'all.
So we wanted to give space to ask any general questions as well for us about Aggie Achieve, any questions that we didn't answer in the course of the presentation. So now's the time to ask.
Yes, this is Elizabeth. Quick question. What support do they get in study hall or with any homework or test preparation?
Yeah, so each one of our students receives at least 4 hours of study hall support during their week. And so in study hall, we have an academic graduate assistant who is in charge of really making sure that students are on track with their academics. So students do take ownership though. Students are responsible for completing their assignments, but our program staff helps prompt them through that. So we review with them like their syllabus and their expectations to make sure that they're meeting them. And all of our students receive a modified curriculum. And so they're accessing the same content as every Texas A&M student in that class, but their expectation might be a little bit different based on what they discuss in their independent learning agreement. And so, for example, instead of taking tests, they might create a PowerPoint, or they might create a video or some other way to demonstrate the knowledge that they've learned in that class. And so our graduate assistant really assists them with that, as well as program staff and practicum students and things like that to help them with their assignments.
I saw a couple questions in the chat. One was about the living arrangements in White Creek. So the apartments are gender specific, male, female apartments, but the hallways are mixed. So there might be females living across the hall from males. And then someone else asked a specific question about like, if I have a sibling going to A&M, can I live with them? Or if I have a friend going to A&M, can I live with them? Yes, absolutely. But they have to live in White Creek. So that is the requirement. And if it's anybody who wants to be a part of that living learning community, they could just indicate that on their housing application.
Can I speak? This is Julie Miller. I have some questions. Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
So their daily schedule. So they have a PEEP class and they have a Texas A&M class. And then the seminar, can you elaborate a little bit on what seminar is and what happens during that time? Is that more like a living skills curriculum or our life skills type of curriculum, or is that just, I'm not clear what that is.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have actually implemented more of a directed studies route this year. And so what directed studies is each student meets with program staff individually. And our freshman students focus on navigating college life. And so that consists of study habits, how to access resources on campus. It aligns with their Hullabaloo class that they're taking. So every freshman at Texas A&M must take a Hullabaloo course. And so our Navigating College Life seminar or directed studies is really aligned with that to help support students with what they're discussing in class. And so that consists of how to get around campus, using technology appropriately, social skills, accessing disability resources, building partnerships on campus. So that's really what the freshmen are focusing on, getting acclimated to the transition of being on their own within a college environment. And then our sophomores and juniors are more individualized. So in directed studies, they choose a skill that they would like to work on. For example, I have a student right now that's working with me and he chose to learn about healthy lifestyle. And so in our directed studies, we're talking about meal planning, healthy alternatives, getting enough rest, exercise, building those healthy habits. Another student chose budgeting. So he's learning about money management and how budgeting fits and works for him. And that can look like, learning how to check their bank account, learning how to go to the grocery store, different avenues like that. But we are moving to be more individualized for the student. So the student, we really want them to take ownership and advocate for what they want to learn. So instead of us making decisions for what their education will be, we want them to have the skills necessary to advocate for that. And so in those directed studies, the student is really leading it, and with the student and program staff sit down together and we form the syllabus with them. So they have complete ownership over what they're choosing to learn in those directed studies.
And was that part of the daily schedule?
Yeah, so the daily schedule, it would have said Aggie Achieve seminar. And so either they'll be in a seminar or directed studies, whatever we think is best for the student and whatever the student thinks is best for them.
Okay. And so another question. So when they attend their Texas A&M class in particular, maybe the PEEP class too, but more the academic class, do they have is there an Aggie Achieve mate that is attending that class with them to help maybe with note taking or, I don't know, deciphering information? Or is that Aggie Achieve mate only the academic mentor person, only meeting with them weekly to just advise them or help them maybe with their class notes afterwards? How kind of explain that a little more, please?
So in order to be eligible for Aggie Achieve, they must be able to sit in a class independently for at least 90 minutes. And so if a student is not capable of studying that 90 minutes still and paying attention in class, they're going to have a really hard time. They do have a note taker that they're assigned through disability resources. And so this note taker doesn't necessarily sit with them and prompt them throughout the class. They are just giving them access to the notes once class is over. And then Achievemates, it's a volunteer student organization. And so each person in their circle meets with them for a minimum of 30 minutes to an hour each week. And then of course, when they start to form that natural relationship, then it could increase. But the achievement is really there to just assist after the class is over and provide, that additional support of, you have this assignment, how can I help you tackle that? But the student really will be independent in their class, learning the material and the content, but they do have access to disability resources such as a peer note taker in the class, read and write software to where the textbooks that they're reading and the notes that they're receiving can be read aloud to them. We meet with the instructor and form independent learning agreements where we can really individualize the accommodations the student will receive. But as far as having someone sit there with them, making sure that, they're being prompted throughout the course, that's not really something that we provide. The student should be able to sit in that class and pay attention.
Okay, thank you. And I have one last question about admissions. Somewhere in the presentation, you mentioned you anticipate accepting 7 to 10 students for next fall. And I don't know if that will increase from year to year or if that's about your standard number. So based on the number of people on this call today, I'm sure there will be many more applications than 10. And so if a student is not invited for a formal interview or is ultimately not accepted, can they reapply the following year and maybe multiple years to be accepted?
Absolutely. So if a student is not accepted, they can for sure apply the next year. And so sometimes what happens is a student might apply this year and they're just not maybe mature enough or ready to make this transition right now. And so if they either aren't invited to an interview or they come to the interview and we decide that they're not a good fit for the program right now, that certainly doesn't mean that they will never be a good fit for our program. We want to make sure that, they're mature enough or ready to make this transition. And so they can definitely reapply.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to add to that. So we try to give feedback in the admissions process, especially for students who make it all the way up to the final interview round and then are not accepted. So we will share basic level information about why they may not have been accepted, because what we want to encourage, like in the scenario Jamie said, where a student's just not ready, we want to encourage them to reapply, but sometimes it might come down to maybe not having the right disability diagnosis or parents have guardianship, things like that, that are just specific parts of our criteria that they need to change in order to reapply. Otherwise, they're going to keep getting the same notification each year. So we do try to give that specific information so that applicants and their families know how to best move forward.
May I ask a question about guardianship? I've had a question in the chat that says, does a shared guardianship agreement affect their acceptance? Their son's their own guardian, but the school is pushing them to perform the shared guardianship paperwork. So how would that affect their acceptance and stuff? Would you speak to that, please?
I've not had anyone with shared guardianship, but we'd have to look at that on an individual basis. The goal is that all students need to be their own legal guardian.
And we will accept with the contingency there, and you'll notice in the application, like if they are not their current guardian, are you willing to go through the change and make sure that they are the guardianship? So that
Yes.
won't immediately cut them out of the running, as long as you're open.
Correct. Yes. And we've had students who are now accepted students go through that process. So if you're in that situation, you have questions, we can definitely connect you to those families so they can tell you a little bit about how that works. But from my understanding, it's a pretty relatively easy process if you have a good lawyer. And the supported decision-making is something I really want to emphasize, regardless of whether or not you go into this program, is something that the state of Texas really promotes. So you can definitely ask your school or lawyer about those options as well.
So I got a question about helping students access campus in my private chat. I saw that Dr. Worley answered it in the public chat, but so we do help students get around campus. So the first few weeks are devoted to helping them access where their classes are, the dining halls near them, riding the bus system. Our students really rely on the Texas A&M bus to get to and from campus, to get to their classes. And so we do provide that support at the beginning of each semester to making sure that they understand where they're going. And we collect a lot of data to prove that they're capable of being independent before we just turn them over to navigate it themselves. Is there a parent family group of former and current Aggie Achieve students? So we do have a group of our parents that meet either through Facebook, social media, or they talk regularly to discuss what's going on with their student and to receive community and support. But as far as plugging in prospective applicants to the parents, we don't have anything like that. But if your student was accepted into the program, then you would have that additional support with other parents in the program.
Can we speak a little bit to the tuition payment timeline?
I think she might be responding in the chat. I'm not sure.
Okay. I got another question about transportation. Potentially, can they arrange transportation for dental appointments, et cetera, around the community? Absolutely. One of the skills that we have been working with our students on is Uber and Lyfts, using some of those services, but also sometimes AchieveMates or staff can. We usually try to provide the students with the skills that are going to be generalizable once they leave, right? So we want to help them with the Uber and stuff, and we will have AchieveMates or staff that will ride with them until we've gotten enough data to see that they are able to handle this independently. We don't just let the students go and do.
Yeah.
So sorry, I got kicked off again, but I wanted to address the billing. So we follow the same deadlines as Texas A&M, and we can get you that information if you want, but it's the same exact deadlines as any other Texas A&M student. There's an option to pay for the fall semester in full, or you could pay it in payments. So we can get you that information if you're interested. We're also looking into some type of deposit that we would do after acceptance prior to the fall semester that would go toward their tuition, because we do want to make sure that if a student is accepted and that they're fully committed to the program, and that financial obligation, so it would just be the same thing that they'd be paying, but they'd be paying it a little bit earlier just to hold their spot in the program. We don't have that set up yet, but it might be in place by next fall.
There is another question in the chat about if they have a Texas Tomorrow fund set up since birth, does this apply here in the program?
I'm not exactly sure, but if that's like a prepaid college tuition, then yes, it would. But before I say that with confidence, I want to make sure I fully understand. So I can ask financial aid that question too. Just email us and we'll get you a specific information for that. And we do have one more guest with us. We have Amy Hurley from the Texas A&M Foundation, and she is going to talk a little bit about fundraising. Our program currently has federal grant funding through the Department of Education, but it does not support Texas A&M students' tuition. So a lot of our initial startup funding came through philanthropy, through donations to the Texas A&M Foundation. So we work really closely with the foundation officers because we understand that our program is expensive, but the reason for that is that we do not receive any money from the state or from the university at this time. So that means that all of our staff, our graduate assistants, our space on campus, all of that is funded either through philanthropy or through a grant right now. And so a lot of what the Texas A&M Foundation is currently focusing on is student scholarships. So Amy will talk through this process, but if a student is accepted to Aggie ACHIEVE, then in May of that same year, we have scholarships for the following academic year, and they can apply to that once they're accepted. And those scholarships will help offset the cost of tuition and program fees. So Amy, I see that you're in the room there. Are you ready to go?
I'm here. Howdy, everyone, and welcome. We're so glad that you guys are here. I know that you've just been kind of inundated with a lot of new information, but hopefully very helpful. So I'll just throw a little bit at you. I am, as Carly said, I'm essentially a fundraiser. My official title is a development coordinator or director of development. There's a lot of different ones here, but I am an N of two. I have a partner. His name is Jody Ford, and we have both just been honored and had the utmost privilege to be able to represent this amazing program. So basically what I do every day is I hit the ground running, and I'm out seeing potential donors who want to support this and other programs here in the College of Education and Human Development. As you can imagine, this has been a wonderful, very open arms, very well received program across the entire Aggie network and beyond. But as Carly mentioned, the program does not receive any funding from the university or the state. So we had some, we were challenged, I'm going to use that word, we were challenged with getting funding initially to get the program up and running, which was not hard. It was a lot of fun, actually. And then have since moved into scholarships. So that is one of my main priorities. I work day in and day out, at least one a day, just having conversations, seeking out those individuals and helping to filter through the ones that are coming to us that want to give to our students. These look like they can come through in two different forms. So we have what we call pass through, and these are just one-time gifts that individuals, companies, corporations, foundations will designate to the program, and we're able to administer them within some parameters, but it's able to go straight to the students. We also have what are called endowments or endowed level gifts. These are much larger gifts that are typically named. So a lot of times when you hear scholarships coming through, and if you're able to join this program, you'll hear the James and Linda L. Smith Aggie ACHIEVE Endowed Scholarship Fund. Those are typically the donors that have given. And then they are awarded annually, and they grow in perpetuity, meaning they live out for the life of the university and the program. So it can be a little overwhelming, but it's all so wonderful. And please know that I am working so hard to see that these students can get the most amount of money that they possibly can to help offset your cost. As a mom, I understand just how much things can be, and know that I'm looking for all the help that I can offer for you guys. So with that, as Carly and I have said, that we are actively seeking out individuals. So if you happen to know of anybody either an individual, a corporation, a company, or a foundation that has an affinity for giving to programs like this, please just reach out to the program and they'll get you connected with me, and we'll move forward with that. Does anybody on here have any questions? I'm kind of following a when and how do you apply for foundation scholarships? I'll leave that up to you ladies.
That application will open in May, and it's for accepted students, and it's for the freshmen, and then you can keep applying each year as well.
Mm-hmm.
Amy, can you talk a little bit about if a student is a scholarship recipient, what are some of their requirements typically? Like,
Absolutely, yes. So we do ask that the student at the very least writes a thank you letter to send over to the whoever has offered the scholarship. But we also have opportunities throughout the year, mainly in the fall, something we call our donor appreciation luncheon, where we'll bring our donors on campus and host just a really nice lunch. And we invite their current awarded student or students to join in, and they have the opportunity to sit and visit and kind of get to know one another. Now, sometimes you might have a donor that may want a little more involvement. You have donors that want none at all. So it just, it kind of depends on the situation, but at the very least, we just ask that they offer thank yous. And it's really my job and my partner's job to essentially love on these donors and to steward them. So we frequently send updates about the program. If anytime something like a story is posted about the particular student that they've awarded, we'll share that or tag them in social media or do something like that just to let them know, hey, your student that you're helping out is thriving and growing. So that's really all that we ask at this time.
In some of those scholarships, it's really up to the donor, right? So some are need-based, some might be like for students from like the Dallas area or Houston area. So that each scholarship has its own specific requirements. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So if they are a named endowed level scholarship, the perk for the donor is to be able to put some parameters or additional preferences that they may want on this. So for example, the Houston A&M Club is very generous donors to the Aggie ACHIEVE program, but they have stipulations that they would like to go to a student who is within the, it's probably 15, 20 zip codes. It's quite a few zip codes in the Houston area. We have several other donors who say, I just want to give it to someone who is in need. And generally we have donors come forward and say, just give it to whoever needs it at that moment, or they leave it to the discretion of those that are awarding. But yes, there is that opportunity. You can get as specific as you want, but we will never let them get too specific so that it doesn't award, because we want the money to be used. But they cannot, and this is very important, they cannot be selected based on gender or race. So it is only kind of if it's from somewhere you live or need versus not need. That's pretty much the parameters that we'll put within this program.
Okay, I have a question. Are we allowed to apply for scholarships from other, from wherever? I've had a few donors that want to specifically give to her in scholarship, and do we just get that submitted through regular admissions and it's applied to her financial statement?
Dr. Gilson, I'll let you answer this one because you have a more holistic approach to this.
Yes. Yes, you can, as long as, so we do have that. And we would just ask you to let us know. So you would apply however they ask you to apply for that scholarship. And then let us know so that we can connect that student to financial aid, and they will get it applied to her account, his or her account. And then there was another question in the chat about even if my son doesn't get in, could I still donate? And I think the answer to that is a resounding yes.
Yes, absolutely. We need all, and you know, drops in the bucket, they add up to a full bucket. So any little bit is always very welcomed. Please know that no donation is too small, because every little bit helps, especially as you guys know, just little costs add up. So anybody is more than welcome. There is a link on the Aggie Achieve website that says Give Now. You guys can just go directly there and give. And it all is filtered through. I actually work for the Texas A&M Foundation, which is a separate entity. It's a 501c3, so it's a nonprofit, and am assigned to the College of Education and Human Development, but all donations are tax deductible.
And on the other side of that, this may go without saying, but it's important to note that if you are a donor to Aggie Achieve, that does not mean that you automatically get into Aggie Achieve. So you still have to go through the full admissions process. You'd be evaluated just like any other student. In fact, you know, we may not even know that information. So yes, donating is great if you have the capacity to do so, but it is totally separate from the admissions process.
Yes, and that, oh, go ahead. Yes.
I got a question in the chat about a family opened up an Able Now account for their son. Seems like the question is, will it harm the student or hurt them in any way if they've got assets in their own name as far as admission or finances or anything?
No, I mean, we encourage all our students to fill out the FAFSA. So however FAFSA would take that into account.
Okay. Thank you.
And for the way we evaluate financial needs, so we do ask if they have a FAFSA on file, but we don't do our own separate. We don't ask for your, you know, tax returns or anything like that. We're not looking at that. It's really the application is asking, why do you need the scholarship? And we ask the students directly so they can submit an essay or a video to explain how the scholarship will help them, will help their education and their family. But we're not looking for specific, you know, information. You would do that through the FAFSA. And another question that we get asked a lot is, can I have federal scholarship, federal financial aid in addition to scholarships? Absolutely, yes. Get as much as you can. But when we are evaluating for our scholarships, we do try to distribute that evenly across, or as evenly as possible as we can across all the students who apply and need it, and really demonstrate financial needs. So we will be asking, do you have other forms of financial aid? Do you already have other scholarships? Just to take it all into account so that we can make sure that we're providing as much support to as many students as possible. Does anyone else have any questions for Amy while she's here? Okay, Amy, thank you so much for your time and for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And welcome everyone again. I hope that you guys walk away with just a warm heart about Aggie Achieve, because it's a pretty amazing program, and hope to meet all of you one day. So you all have a wonderful day. Stay dry if you're getting rained on today. Bye.
So we've alluded to this, but we wanted to take a minute to talk about the program cost. And this is available on our website, but Jamie's going to pull up a slide about it as well. And I just want to walk you through it. So this is all per semester. The first line you're going to see is the tuition, and that is a flat fee of tuition that goes to the university and is based on the credit equivalent that our students are taking. So even if some courses they take are for credit, some are not for credit, this is the amount that any other student would pay for that equivalent of hours time spent in Texas A&M coursework. The other fees, the advancement fee, health center fee, rec sports, student center fee, these are all the same exact fees as other Texas A&M students pay. The health center, rec sports, student center, those are all for accessing those specific centers on our campus. The university advancement fee is a general fee that really just goes into like infrastructure, supporting the university, improvement, construction, things like that, that every other A&M student pays. The last one, the biggest dollar sign there, is the program fee. And that is what goes to support our staff and the overall running of the program. So as I mentioned before, we don't receive any funding from the university or the state right now. And so this supports, it pays for our staff salaries, it pays for the office space that we have right now on West Campus, pays for technology and all the different ways that we support students. And then the last line, the housing fee, is paid directly to Residence Life. It doesn't get paid to us. That's the cost, the approximate cost of what it is to live in White Creek and have a meal plan. All freshmen living on campus are required to have a meal plan. And then after that, they can decide whether or not, as they learn more about independent living and cooking, they can decide if they still want to have that meal plan sophomore year and beyond. So does anyone have any questions about the cost? Oh, and this is just the slide that has Amy and Jody's information on there. So take note of their email address. It's also on our website. You just heard from Amy, and then her partner is Jody Ford. They both work really closely with us to raise money for Aggie Achieve. And we also wanted to give a shout out to the HEB Tournament of Champions. That's another one of our big funders. They've supported us since the beginning. They provided a very large grant to us during the first year of the program before we had any other funding, and that's helped us get started in 2019.
There's a question in the chat about a summer program, and currently we do not have a summer program. Dr. Gilson, I don't know if you want to speak to this at all.
Yes, so currently we do not. However, it's in the works. So we are planning for one, and it may start as early as next summer. But if not, then definitely the following year. And this will be a 2-week summer extended orientation that is for accepted freshmen. So it's a way for our students to live on campus before all of the other thousands of students arrive back in campus in August. So it will take place sometime in June or July. And it will be a way for them to learn the bus routes, learn how to get around, plus learn about the student rules, learn about student life and the expectations of what it means to be an Aggie Achieve student. And we have that in place to help support the transition for our freshmen. And there was a question about fish camp. So our students can attend fish camp and are encouraged to do so. It's not required. If you're not an Aggie, fish camp is sort of the unofficial orientation for our new freshmen. It is a 2 to 3 day experience where they go to a campsite that's about an hour away from College Station, and they learn about all the Aggie traditions, all the history. They learn about different student organizations, and they have, it's a great way to meet people and a great way to get supported. We have all of our students go to the same session, just so that the staff members of those sessions are familiar with Aggie Achieve students. However, we try to disperse them across their different small groups so that they have the opportunity to meet people and form those relationships. Often in those first few weeks before they have Aggie Achieve made set up, before they may have met other people in their classes, Fish Camp especially is a great network to help them get plugged in on campus. They go to football games with them, midnight yell practice, and it's another social outlet for them to meet new people.
So someone asked me in a chat, how much does housing cost?
Yeah, that was on the slide that you just had up, but it's approximately $4,500 per a semester to live in White Creek, and then the meal plan is on top of that. They might vary that cost year to year. So First year students typically live in a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. That is the option for the first year. After that, when they don't have to live with a residential mentor anymore, then they can live in a 2-bedroom, which is a little more expensive. And then during their senior year, they can live off campus or live even outside of Bryan College Station if they want. So it really is up to the students, but for that first year, in total comes out to be about $10,000. And that actually should say per year, not per semester.
Elizabeth asked in the chat if there is a separate summer program at A&M, not a part of Aggie Achieve, but focused on people with ID. Yes, there is the PATHS program, PATHS. They'll have a bridge to career program in the summer. You would need to reach out to that program to really understand a little bit more about those costs and everything.
And actually the paths, so I put in a website in the chat, CDD, that's the Center on Disability and Development. They have several summer programs. They have another one called Waco that some of our students have participated in. That's like they can be in high school. It's not tied to Aggie Achieve, but affiliated programs. The PATHS program that Dr. Worley mentioned, that is a separate post-secondary program at Texas A&M. So that would be a separate admissions process, separate application process. But they do have to go through a separate and totally separate application process to be a part of those. But definitely encourage you to check those kinds of things out, especially if you're thinking about applying for Aggie Achieve in a few years. Not ready yet. It's a good way to, because our summer program is only going to be for students already accepted into the program. Some of these other summer programs are going to be for high school students or for people who are considering it, and it gives you a taste of college life. Are there any other questions before we wrap up here? Anything in the chat that we haven't addressed, Dr. Worley?
I had a question that was asking how we weighted the applications, since we are not looking at the academic standards that other A&M students might be required to meet. How are we weighting the differences for our students that might not have those academic standards?
Good question. So we use that eligibility criteria that I shared. That is how we created our rubric. So we took that, all of those criteria, and then put it into a rubric form. And we want to see that any applicant, any potential student has to meet all of those criteria. So it's really based on those things: the reading comprehension, ability to sit still, independent living, navigation. So you'll see the application is really designed that way. And then the interview process. So that's the admissions committee is comprised of people outside of our direct staff, and they're just looking to make sure that they meet all those eligibility criteria. And then we have 2 rounds of interviews. One's on campus and one is on Zoom. And in those interviews, we're really looking to determine the fit, the overall fit for the program. So that's where we get to know the student, and we're going to ask about behavioral challenges, about independent living, about their aspirations for employment and independent living. And so that's just looking for alignment. And as Jamie mentioned earlier, we might get feedback that says maybe, take another year or go to one of these summer programs or something like that. But we don't specifically recommend any other programs. I saw a question about that earlier. So if you are not accepted into Aggie Achieve, we're not going to say go to this program, but we would just encourage you to reapply. How many applications for fall? Yeah, I think that was mentioned earlier. We got about between 70 and 80. And we interview anywhere 15 to 20 students in that first round. And then that second round might be about 10 to 15 students. Or sorry, yeah, 30 for the Zoom interviews. That sounds more right. The jobs will be around College Station. The jobs might be on campus or on the around Bryan College Station. During their 4th year, they don't have to live in Bryan College Station, so they can actually go back to their hometown and begin working there if that's ultimately where they want to be after they graduate. Oh, I'm really glad. Thank you for asking that question, because that was something I wanted to talk about. The application is really long, and so it's intense. It asks a lot of questions, and that's because this is a 4-year investment in each student. And so we want to make sure it really is a strong fit all the way around. And so what I recommend doing, it is a Qualtrics link, so it's an online survey that you complete, but I recommend downloading it as a PDF so that you can look at all of the requirements and then sit down and do it. You do not have to complete it all in one time, but the way that Qualtrics works is that you have to use the same browser. So there's not a way to like create a username and password type of thing, but Qualtrics will automatically let you pick up where you left off if you use the same computer, same browser as when you started the application. So you can start it whenever and just make sure it's complete and turned into us by December 1st. We cannot accept late applications. And that includes full application. So that's submitting that application online, your references, and your application fee. There is some essay questions that are completed by the applicant. There's also a portion for you to upload a video. So it is a lot. We recommend spending a lot of time on it, but that's just because we want to get to know you and we want to see if this is really the right program for you. Any other questions or comments?
Just an extra note on the essay. We really want the students to be doing that. So if they feel more comfortable providing a video essay as opposed to a traditional written essay, we definitely love that and encourage that. So the essay, we call it an essay, but it's going to be however your student, your applicant wants to present the information to us to answer those essay questions. Ooh, what's the long-term vision for Aggie Achieve staff?
Great question. I'll start, and then if others want to jump in. I mean, we want to grow, keep growing as much as possible, but we also want to make sure we're growing strategically. So somebody asked earlier about like how many, we're going to take about 7 to 10 students in the next cohort. And then we'll gradually keep increasing. So far, our cohorts have looked like we started with 5 and then 7, this year's 8. So each year we'll grow, but we don't want to get so big that we are unable to provide that individualized level of support. So it is a fine balance in growing too quickly. Other than that, I want to have more of a presence on campus where our students are fully plugged in. Jamie showed that snippet of the Texas A&M courses that are currently available. My goal, my dream is that we don't have to have just like a small subset of courses, that our students can take any course at Texas A&M that doesn't have a prerequisite. So any 100 or 200 level course, we're working on that. That would allow us to have more of a major component. So like our students could come in and declare a concentration area, just like any other student. So we're working on that as well. And then we hope that our students are participating in, graduation and all other aspects of Texas A&M life. So there are things that we're working on right now, like the possibility of our students studying abroad at some point. That's in the works. People always ask about the Aggie ring. We're working on it. I don't know what it's going to look like, but we're working on it. As our students are on campus, they are the best ambassadors, and they're the ones who can really talk up the program better than anybody. So the more students we have on campus, the longer we're here, I think the more progress we'll see.
I want to go ahead and add to also, in Aggie Achieve, we don't want to be the only program. So part of what we do is outreach and training for other schools, other programs to really get up and started, because parallel to how not like every university is not right for every student. We kind of see that, and we want to make sure that our students have the options, just like any other student. We mentioned briefly that University of North Texas has a program, ELEVAR, ELEVAR is what they're called. University of Texas in San Antonio also, I think, just started a program.
Texas A&M San Antonio.
Thank you, Texas A&M San Antonio. So that is another thing that we want for Aggie Achieve is we don't want to be the only school doing this. We want all the universities to do this. We want this to be available for everyone.
So we encourage you to do your homework. Sorry, Jamie, but just related to that, go on Think College. There's like 11 or 12 programs in Texas. Go look at all of them. Look at the PATHS program at Texas A&M. Look at ELEVAR. Look at all of the, if you're in a different part of Texas, maybe there's something closer to you. So we don't get offended by that. We're all friends and we're all have the same mission. So yes, there is a Texas A&M San Antonio. Sorry, Jamie, go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say something similar. I was going to say, please feel free to apply to other programs as well, because, the mission of all of this is for students with intellectual disabilities to find their meaningful life, right? So we want them to not only be successful in Aggie Achieve, but the whole mission and goal is that when they graduate our program, they're living their best life. They're living an independent life where they can get the opportunities that they want, and they're happy and they're thriving and they're successful. So similar to what they said, feel free to reach out to other programs as well, because the long-term mission of all of this is for people with disabilities to have meaningful employment and a meaningful independent life.
Well, I think that's a great way to end it. Thank you all so much for your time. We can stick around if you have any questions. Thank you again. Please follow us on social media and go to our website for the most up-to-date information. We also have a monthly newsletter. You can go on our website and subscribe to that. Thank you.